friends, this is Thaddeus from Going Nerdy, and as it has been pointed out a number of times, it seems like the month of December is going to look very much like an homage, something to focus around the original trilogy. Now, I've speculated heavily that C-3PO is coming to the game. I do believe that it is likely that he is going to be coming. Now, that being said, there's still a number of other great characters from the original trilogy that we could be getting. But today what I want to do is focus on Jabba the Hutt. Now, Jabba the Hutt plays kind of a minor role. He's seen throughout the original trilogy, just momentarily, just enough to give Han Solo's character motivation. I think Jabba could and eventually should come to the game right off the bat. As far as alignment goes, I have long since said that there should be a light, a dark, and a neutral. And now that neutral should be kind of that thing that is neither light nor dark. It's neither rebel nor empire. It's neither resistance or first order. It's that faction in between. And the faction in between is usually occupied by a crime family. And a crime family like Jabba the Hutt would make sense. Or like the Hutts would make sense to add to the neutral faction. They're not good, but they've worked with the Jedi. They're not bad, but they've worked with the Empire. They're criminals, but they're not light side or dark side. Good or bad doesn't really play into effect. Yeah, they're bad dudes, but they have a heart to them. I mean, Jabba had his son Roto, and that little slug, he loved the slug. He loved the little, booger. I think that he should be the first. Jabba the Hutt should be the first to be added to the neutral tag. I've long since believed that opening that neutral tag up to the crime syndicates could be a really interesting way to add another level to the game. Because then, once Jabba's added, you could get the Red Dawn, you could get the Crimson Dawn, you could get the Pike Syndicate, you could get a number of other factions that are not good or bad, that have a major place in the Star Wars canon that aren't really represented right now. Now, granted, I personally want Hondo Ohnaka to be the first neutral tag added. I don't think I'll ever get my wish. I think he'll come to the game eventually because, let's face it, he's in a ton of different mediums. He's in Clone Wars, he's in Rebels, he's in like the Lego versions of this character, of this cartoon, of this whole system of storytelling. Hopefully we get him. We may never get him. I don't rightly know. Fingers crossed that one day we do. However, Jabba would make more sense because he is the more notorious. He is the more noticeable. He's the more well-known neutral character. Now, what would his abilities look like? What would his stats look like? Jabba the Hutt needs to be a slow character. He's a slug. He is a space slug. He's not fast moving. He is slow. However, like all Hutts, when he hits, he does need to hit hard. I don't think Jabba's going to have a gun. I think Jabba's going to be a hand-to-hand combat type guy. I really want him to have a high damage, a slow speed, like slowest in the game, like 50 or 60, something ridiculously slow. That even if you put all of your speed mods on him, probably would never crack 200. Probably would never crack 150. I don't think he needs to be a fast character at all. Again, space slug. Now, 2, critical hit, critical chance, critical damage. All of those things need to be very powerful with this guy. He needs to be strong. When he hits, he needs to hit hard and people need to feel it. Because I just feel like if you put all that weight behind a fist, it's gonna hurt and it's gonna leave a mark. I don't rightly know. It just makes sense that it would. As far as health goes, he needs to have, I think, moderate health. I don't think he needs to be the healthiest of characters. Look at his diet. He probably isn't the healthiest of characters anyways. But as far as protection, he was always surrounded by goons. And so I think that he needs to have some kind of protection ability or some kind of high protection or a way to gain protection or a way just to be protected. I don't rightly know. That does bring me to his abilities. Now, as I mentioned before, Jabba's basic needs to be just a powerful melee attack. Again, you put some weight behind that fist, he's going to hit pretty hard. Now, what I have is, I've taken this name from the Wizards of the Coast miniatures game. It's called Mighty Swing. For those of you who played it, you know exactly what I'm talking about. I've taken it, but I've kind of tweaked it for this game. Now, Jabba takes one Mighty Swing against an enemy. This has a high damage variance and a 30% chance to miss. Now, maybe that's a higher percent, maybe a 50% chance to miss. And you'll see why here in a moment. But if the attack lands, so if the enemy actually does get hit, the enemy is stunned for 1 turn. Once that stun wears off, they are dazed for 2 turns. That in and of itself is a very powerful thing. Just because Jabba wouldn't hit often, because he wouldn't go very often, when he does, it needs to leave the mark. His first and only special ability that I've really kind of given him is called Good Help. Has a 3-turn cooldown. It's bounty hunters and scoundrel allies gain 20% turn meter. This is increased by 5% for each rebel, Jedi, or Empire enemy. Now, maybe not Empire, maybe just rebel and Jedi. That would make sense. Or maybe even scoundrel enemies. I don't rightly know. Some kind of factional enemy that allows him to have additional speed or to grant his employees additional speed, additional chance to go, right? Jabba should be a very supportive character who just hits hard from time to time. That's the way that I see him. Now, his leadership ability. I call it scum and villainy. And this is his Zatable ability. Scoundrel allies gain 5% speed, 5% critical chance, and 5% critical damage for each scoundrel and bounty hunter ally in the squad. Now, I don't necessarily think that should be stacking, so if it's a bounty hunter and a scoundrel, they wouldn't get 10%, although that would be kind of cool, because it would make them way faster and just ridiculously powerful. But I think 5% per scoundrel or bounty hunter ally, right? So it wouldn't be 10% each, because again, that would get very powerful. Whenever another scoundrel or bounty hunter ally is defeated, scoundrel allies gain 50% turn meter, right? So if someone dies, right, they go again. They go fast, right? Again, so far not ridiculously powerful. I mean, it's good, but it's not like so good. Here's the thing. Even though Jabba would be a scoundrel, he would be able to activate the bounty hunters or the contracts of the bounty hunters. Think about that. I think that is really freaking cool. I've said this in a couple of my videos over the past when we were focused so heavily on the bounty hunters. Jabba needs to be a scoundrel who can activate a bounty. That would make just a ton of sense. And to me, it'd be really cool. I think that'd be awesome. Now, the contract, amongst all the other contracts that the people would get, what you would do is you would defeat the strongest rebel, Jedi, or Empire enemy. So regardless of whoever it is, whoever the strongest one is, defeat him, right? The reward is whenever a bounty hunter performs a basic attack, they have a 90% chance to attack a second time at 80% damage. Now, it just gives them a second turn. It makes them go faster, right? Now, based on the bounty hunter basic attacks, that would be very beneficial. Now, if you look at Boba Fett's basic attack, what that would do is instead of making it go twice, if he attacked twice, you could potentially go 4 times, right? So Boba Fett would attack once, then he'd go based off of this, right? He'd roll the 90% chance to hit again. Then based on his basic attack, depending on what it looked like, he still had another chance to attack again, which could then have another 90% chance to attack a fourth time. I think that would be very, very cool. And again, would make the bounty hunters a ridiculously powerful team, because a lot of the bounty hunters' basic attacks are really solid. They're not great. They're not end all be all, but with something like this, it could make the bounty hunters way OP and definitely a solid meta. And with the whole rock, paper, scissors thing that they're doing in the arena, with the introduction of the grand arena probably around the corner sometime, it makes sense for them to give us something like this, a new meta that would be an early meta for a lot of beginning players, because people need scoundrels in the bounty hunters, right? That's one of the pillars, right? I just think they would be really, really cool. And it's kind of unique because, Rebel, Jedi, whatever other faction that they decide to throw on there, I think that it would be cool because it's not so overpowering against all other factions, right? Now, his first unique is called Plan Ahead. Jabba takes a bonus turn at the start of each encounter, very much like Han Solo. Think of, springing the trap on Luke. When facing off against a Jedi, the cooldowns of his squad are reduced by 1. Again, not super beneficial, not super awesome, but helpful depending on the squad that you've built around him. Maybe it's reduced by 2, whatever. But again, it would be good depending on how you're using this team, how you're using and who you're using the team against. Vicious Temper. This is his last unique ability, his other unique ability. And I think it's kind of the thing that makes his basic ability palatable, okay? So, once Jabba is hit, he gains retribution for the remainder of the battle. Each time Jabba takes damage, his critical hit and critical damage chances increase by 5% stacking for the remainder of the battle. Now think about that. Every time Jabba is hit, AoE, just a basic attack. Maybe if Jabba, with this, he also had some kind of tank ability or draw ability where he could pull people to attack him. That would be pretty cool. But again, as I've created this, Jabba doesn't have a ton of health, and he's got a decent amount of protection depending on who you've put around him. But if he's attacking every time he's been hit, then with that mighty swing, what he's doing is he's stunning people and then leaving them dazed. That, I think, would make Jabba a fairly formidable foe. That's right, my friends. I've used alliteration to tell you just exactly how I feel about this character. I think that it's possible that this could be a very well-balanced, I think I've really created a well-balanced character here, because Jabba does need to be in this game. There's a lot of characters that need to be added to this game, and I think there's a lot of characters that will be added to this game. I just think it's just a matter of time. But what do you think? Are you excited? Do you think Jabba could be one of those characters that is focused, that they're going to be focused around? Do you think he'd be a legendary character, or do you think he'd be a marquee character? The way that I'm seeing this character is a marquee character with a ton of solid use. Now, if they introduced him as a new, faction type character, right? If Jabba's the start of a whole criminal syndicate faction series that they're going to introduce, then I think he needs to be more than just a marquee character. Maybe just a special event. I don't rightly know. Maybe a reward for this whole grand arena thing that they've gone about. I don't know. What do you guys think? Leave a comment in the section below. Like, subscribe, share. This has been Thaddeus from Going Nerdy, and as always, my friends, stay nerdy.